Okay, so let's go over using the Podtrak P4 and the microphone, getting it set up and recording for a podcast. So first of all, this is the Podtrak P4 podcast recorder. It's got, obviously, as you can see, 4 different XLR inputs. If you can see from the camera, there are some switches right below the gain knob for each of the 4 inputs. And the first 2 of the inputs are just standard microphone inputs. To the left, the switch is just a regular microphone. If you switch to the right, then it provides 48 volts of phantom power. The MXL770s require phantom power, and so for this setup, we'll be turning those to the right to provide that power. Input number 3, if you can see that, there is one additional switch setting, which is looks like a little phone there. If you have, there's an adapter that goes into the side that provides Bluetooth connectivity that you have to buy separately. If you have that, then that input, if you switch it all the way to the phone setting, then it accepts the Bluetooth input instead of the XLR. And then finally, the last one also has a 3-position input. It has obviously the microphone, the 48 volt phantom power microphone, and then USB. If you look at the other side of the P4, you have 2 different USB inputs. One of them, the top one that says DC 5 volts, is only used for powering the device. The bottom one is a USB input that you can plug into your computer, and it will show up in your computer as both a microphone as well as a speaker. So you can use that if you, for example, if you wanted to play a video or a song or something like that from your computer, you have the option of being able to plug that directly in via USB and use that as the output device. The other option, of course, is to use the headphone adapter to XLR that you have with the Podtrak P4 and just plug this into one of the 4 inputs on top, and then it just acts as your headphone out. Of course, obviously, it doesn't. It won't also have input on that direction, but it would allow you to record the audio coming out of a computer. In that case, you would leave the switch at the regular microphone, since it doesn't require phantom power in there. So you would leave it all the way to the left. So anyway, that's the basics of the different inputs. As I said before, the top knob is the gain for each individual input, and then the selector switch describes what kind of input. Below that, you will see 4 different buttons that will light up when it's powered. Those will mute different inputs. The A, B, C, and D light up buttons below that. Those are for sound effects that you can preload into this, which I won't go into. Then there's a knob below. You can see that is that's the global volume out, and then below that you'll see 4 individual knobs. Those control the volume for each of the 4 headphone outputs. And so in the default mode where you're using microphones, then each of the outputs will include the audio coming in from the corresponding input. There's something called mix minus mode that is automatic when you're switching into USB or that Bluetooth, which subtracts out the input from that particular device into its input. It's useful so you don't get feedback on a computer. But since the typical setup is for individuals to have their headphones plugged in to their corresponding microphone, it does repeat the input so that you can hear your own voice instead of just everybody else. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to go ahead and power this up. Oh, the other thing that I should point out is the SD card. There should be one in your device already. That slot is right here. you can, to get audio files, and we'll talk about this a little bit, but to get audio files out, you can either take the SD card out and plug it directly into your computer, or you can use that USB input, and I'll show you how to do that. That way you don't ever have to remove the SD card. Anyway, so got an SD card right here. Go ahead and plug that in. So that is set. And now I'm going to grab power here. And we'll go ahead and power this up. So as you can see, I'm plugging it into the top to get 5 volts. And then there's a little button right here. You can press that, and as you can see, it's powering up. It'll power up in a default factory reset condition. If you don't have batteries installed, it does not keep the date and time. And so typically it will, after a certain amount of time, it'll lose track of that, and you'll have to go through a date and time setup each time. The alternative is, of course, there's a battery compartment here, 2 AA's. That will keep time. You can also run this off of the battery power, but it won't last that long. So you'll be switching batteries quite often if you do. So I don't really recommend it. I think powering it through USB is probably the best. Now, before we do anything else, I'm going to go ahead and get the microphone set up. So let's put this out of the way for a little bit. We've got these Gator Frameworks microphone stands, pretty standard. Obviously, this is pretty much a no-brainer. Probably should have done this before trying to do a video, but you screw this into the base like that, and then obviously I'm sure you know how to adjust a microphone stand. So I'm just gonna get this set up to better work for the demo here. All right. Okay. All right. Got that set up. We got these MXL microphones. Move that out of the way for a minute. So got those. And see, we've also got these. These obviously will hold the microphone in place. There are some spare elastic bands here, since it's in a shock mount. If you ever need to replace those, there's a spare set in each. So what I'm going to do is I'll take this microphone mount and screw it directly in. Okay. All right. Okay, and then take the microphone out of the plastic here. Dispose of that. Okay, so again, microphone here. Couple settings on the back you can read. Should be an instruction manual in there that you can read what those are for. I'm just going to leave them on their default for now. Obviously, you squeeze that to drop that in. And now we've got our microphone set up. Grab our XLR cable. I'm sure most of this is pretty obvious to you. I'm not going to go ahead and take the whole thing undone, but let's see, plug that into the bottom till it clicks. All right. And then I'm going to plug this into the first XLR input. Okay. So remember this, if I hit the red button, that actually turns it on mute. I don't want to do that. I've made sure that this is set to power the microphone. And I'm going to adjust the gain to about the midpoint, give or take. I'm going to adjust the corresponding headphones to about the midpoint. And then, if I can move this stuff out of the way so you can kind of better see what's going on here. Great. Okay. I'll take my studio headphones, plug them into that corresponding jack. All right. And now I'm going to switch my headphones over so I'm listening to this microphone instead of my setup. Okay, so now I'm listening in on the Podtrak here. It's and as you can see, I don't know if you can see that on the video, but as I talk, you can see that the microphone level is popping up here on the input number 1. So definitely getting audio. I can hear myself talking through the studio monitor headphones there. And sorry, I was wrong before I said that this top one is a global volume. Apologize, that's the case for a different recorder that I have. That's actually for the sound pads for those pre-programmed sounds if you put them in. Anyway. Using this is pretty simple. When you're ready to record, you pretty much just hit the record button, which is right there. You can see that the little red light is now on, and if you look a little closer, you can see that there's a timer counting to see how long that just has how long your recording currently is. So at this point, that's pretty much it. It's recording. You can go about your podcast and everything like that. And then when you're done, you just hit the stop button on that, and it's done recording. So now that we've done that, I'm going to switch back to my other headphones, and we'll go ahead and show you how to get these files off. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and show what the files look like. And how to get them off. I am using a Chrome OS device. Obviously, if you have a Mac or a Windows PC, it's pretty similar. I just happen to have this handy and close by. So I'm going to take this USB cable that I've got right here. Is connected to my computer. Okay, and I'm going to connect it to that second USB port right there. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all, hit the menu button. And there are a bunch of different options. You can see underneath the play and stop button, there are up and down arrows. Once you've hit menu once, that will take you into, that will go switch between the menu items. I'm going to go to where it says File Transfer after I first enter into the menu. And once I've done that, I will hit Enter. Now, that, as you can see, that shows a different display where the device is connected to your computer. And so it should show up, if I've done everything correctly here, it should show up in my files as an SD card. So you can see here, in fact, it does show up as an SD card here. Now, I did not set the date properly, so you can see the date on all of these things is totally wrong. If we the folder that we want to go into is this P4 _ multi-track. That is where the different files will be stored. They're stored by date and timestamp according to to when you started the recording. Again, I apologize. The dates are wrong here simply because I didn't set them. So I'm going to go into that folder, and then you can see that there are a bunch of different files, these are what you would copy over to your computer to go ahead and edit the podcast or the recording. I don't recommend going directly off of the Podtrak and editing directly on the SD card. It'll be a lot slower and you won't be that happy about it. So what I would say is definitely, whatever computer that you're using, go ahead and select all of them and copy them over. Now, in this case, it does record for every input, and obviously I didn't use the sound pad, and in fact I only used mic number 1. But the way that the P4 works is that it creates a separate wave file for each of the 5 inputs, really, because of the sound pads is considered a different input. They are synchronized, so in your editing software, if you just line up the beginning of each clip, they will be perfectly synchronized there, so you don't have to worry about trying to synchronize the individual audio. So now, I'm not going to copy these over, but we will see about listening.
Hit the record button
to one of these.
Right there. You can see that the little red light is now on, and if you look a little closer, you can see that there's a timer counting to see how long that just has how long.
Yeah, there we go. And you should be able to hear me talking during the earlier recording off to the side. Anyway, these are the individual track files, and copy those over, and then use whatever software that you happen to be using to edit the podcast. I know that Macs come with some default software, and I'm not sure if Windows PCs do. Chrome OS certainly doesn't, but there are definitely some options out there, some that are very cheap and possibly shareware, although I would be a little wary of anything that's free, unless it unless it's like a Mac where it comes with the operating system itself. So okay, so once you're done transferring everything over, I believe you just hit the enter button again. Actually, sorry, you can just hit the menu button again, and it will get out of that file transfer. You can unplug your computer from it. It's a pretty big SD card in there that it'll record a considerable amount before you ever need to format it or delete. But once you transfer things over, if you're you've done your editing and you don't need the SD card as a backup, again, if we go from hitting menu again, and we go down to settings and hit enter, then down a little bit before, let's see, where is there's an option for SD card. So if we go into SD card, there's an option to format, and that will erase everything on the SD card, so you've got all your room. So if you go into format and click execute, this is effectively not reversible, so only format it once you've copied everything off and you've edited and saved your podcast on your computer. I like to keep it on the SD card just as a backup in case I mess something up, until everything's been copied off and published and everything. And then that's roughly about it. Everything else, is something you can read about in the manual or whatever. Press the side button again to press and hold it for a minute to turn it off. It'll say goodbye, and then you're done. You put everything away and happy podcasting. But yeah, that's essentially it. You can read a little bit more about the microphone settings in the manual that came with it, or just finding the manual online, as well as the same goes for the Podtrak P4. Quite a bit of settings that are actually available there. One of the things that I think is probably important to note is that the inputs are all mono, and so if you use, for example, if you use the XLR to headphone jack, then that will record as a mono file from your computer. If you want stereo, then you'll want to use the USB as the input from your computer. But other than that's pretty much all you need to know to get going on this. Pretty easy to just sit down and have a trial run at things and see how it goes. Anyway, best of luck, and let me know if you need anything else.